Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! After a baseball game, we stopped at a McDonald's to get some food. We get our food and get into my dad's truck. A foreign guy pulls in next to us and throws his door open, denting my dad's car. Well, my dad fixes dents for a living, so no big deal really. Except this guy kept trying to play in the wind. They started arguing, and this guy just will not let my dad just say, "Just give me $60 for my time and I'll fix it myself," and begins swearing at me and my brother. Very young and not involved at all. And my dad near starts a fight with this guy, and he shouts, "Call the cops, they will defend me." So my dad does. Fast forward 15 minutes, and an unmarked cop car pulls in. One cop gets out, starts asking questions. He gets both sides, and asks me and my brother what happened. We told him everything, and he started writing this guy a ticket. The guy says, "I hate cops." My dad tells a cop, but he didn't see it, so no crime. Except the second cop who saw it all steps out, coughs out to put on this guy. The dude tries to pull away and run, and all three large dudes grab this scrawny punk crap and cuff him. They send my dad on his way, and as we pull out, in the rear seat of the dude's car, I see balloons for a girl's third birthday. My dad fixed the dent himself. It would have cost $100 for anyone else. They got booked for some stuff regarding minors, resisting arrest, and a few others. Probably a couple days in a slammer and a good couple $100 in fines. Edit. When he was getting ticketed, he apparently made some kind of threat toward the officer citing him and my father and I, thereby making his crime much more punishable. A long time ago in a state far, far away, a college town in a Midwestern state in the early 80s, our little pizza shop had a big problem with a couple of frat houses. Actually, a lot of the pizza and delivery places have problems with the frat houses. That was in all likelihood a big problem with a few bad apples. But there were a couple of houses that seemed to have an even higher jerk quotient. The issue for us was related to our 30 minutes or free policy, long since discontinued. And the thought that with some trickery and lying, you might be able to get a pizza without handing over any cash. Since we were adamant about times and did in fact give away pizza when it was late, the occasional witty that tried to get a free pizza without having it to be late got exactly what was coming to them. Usually a visit from the cops if they got too out of hand, and a stern rebuke from a manager was usually enough though. But one house in particular seemed to have quite a few bad orders. Sometimes I would come into work and there would be a note by the phone for this particular house. Let's just call it J.O. The note would say something like, "We are no longer taking orders from anyone in a J.O. frat." On a really rare occasion tonight, we were not taking orders from any frat. Yeah, they were that problematic. Note, I have nothing to compare this to. Maybe some other pizza people want to share. I'm curious if this is still going on or was commonplace. One night in particular, one of our drivers comes back from J.O. not just with the unpurchased pizza, but with pee all over him. Seems he got to the house on time, and rather than go through the usual "I'm a real jerk and want to challenge your time," even though it's been like 10 minutes, they simply refused to open the door. It was a 2-story house and this guy was persistent. When he went to a side door, they opened the window above him and dumped it on him. Making things worse, the driver was a hard-working, redneck-looking kind of guy. Everyone in the shop loved working with him. He had a great attitude and was the kind of person who would be there for you if you needed him. Dumping pee on him was the last straw. So the manager calls the cops and they drive over to the old J.O. frat's house, and the stage is set. The door is answered by a lone J.O. member who comes across as just your honest hard-working college guy who is really sorry for the confusion. The cop inquires if he's aware that someone dumped pee on the driver, and this guy conveys that yes, he's aware, and that they are all really sorry. They didn't mean to do it. It was a college prank gone bad. Oh shucks kinda manner. The cop asks, which person here did it? Oh shucks haws around and finally confesses that, in fact, it was he, the poor hard-working college guy that did it, and he's really sorry. So my manager looks at the cop and more or less conveys that it's time to throw the book at Aw Shucks. They slap the cuffs on him, and to his frat mates' dismay, he's tucked into a squad car and everyone heads down to the local police station for a booking that will involve a weekend in jail or someone bailing this guy out. It is not going to be something a simple apology solves, in other words. They are taking this guy's confession when a carload of J.O. frat guys arrives at the station, asking to see the cop that's doing the intake paperwork. My manager is still there with a driver, and this is where the revenge portion really kicks in. This wasn't even planned, and I can only imagine that the cops were really sick of that J.O. frat nonsense, because what happens next would have been awesome to catch on cell phone video. Believe it or not, there was a time when such things were not commonplace. Two of the arriving J.O. party are having a rare moment of guilty conscience and proceed to confess to the officer that it is not Oh Shucks who dumped the pee, but in fact it was them. The cop proceeds to take their confession down, verifies on all ends that yes, in fact it was these two clowns and not Oh Shucks. Everyone is in agreement. So they book the two guys and put them in jail for the night. By this time, it's well past midnight. Then Oh Shucks, after lamenting about how he wishes it wouldn't have come to this, why wouldn't we all just accept an apology for this? It was just a harmless prank. He goes to leave. Where are you going? The cop asks him. I'm free to go, aren't I? Says Aw Shucks. Cop proceeds to book Aw Shucks for some kind of false witness charge, and he joins his two buddies for the night. Later that night, a bunch of mindless vandalism happens to that J.O. house sometime in the wee hours of the morning. Say after some late night pizza people are done cleaning their store. From what I remember, it involved some kind of construction bridge paint being applied to the bricks and windows of their house. It's been a while and I wish I could have seen the application. I just remember seeing the house for weeks, messed up with big block letters and paint on the windows. And it doesn't really end there. The university ended up revoking the J.O.'s right to have a house on campus. When I was a sophomore year in high school, there was this girl, B, who was a junior and would just casually stare at me angrily. I didn't know B, nor have I done anything wrong to her. Me and B weren't in the same class, but our classes were in the same area, so we would always see each other. Juniors usually finish their class 10 to 5 minutes early before the bell rings, and when it does, they usually come into the sophomore's room. During that class, B would usually give me eye rolls, dirty looks, and make indirect comments. I didn't know why since the semester had just started. So basically, B and her bully friends talked crap and make grunt noises when we passed each other at the hallway. Throughout my sophomore and junior year, my senior year was way better without those toxic people. I told my sister this story after I graduated high school and she got really angry. Anyways, a couple of years later, sister was a manager at a coffee shop downtown, and sister told me she hired a girl a couple of months ago who went to the same school as I did. I asked her for the girl's name and sister gave it to me. I quickly searched the name up on Facebook because a girl went to the same school, and boom. It's B the Witch. I called sister and told her that the girl she hired was my bully in high school. Sister cuts me off saying, "Oh my god, what the heck? That girl had always been late for work." I gave her a warning, but I let it slide because she told me that she really needed a job because she didn't have enough money to pay for her apartment. I laughed hysterically. Me and sis decided to get back at her by pretending that I was a new manager. By the way, the other employees who were on the same shift that day were also a friend of mine and agreed to go with the plan. They also didn't like the girl because of how she acted towards them and that she only acted properly when the manager was around. Finally, there I was, in my sister's work clothes, pretending to introduce myself to the employees. My sister was hiding but kept an eye on us. Then B and my eyes met and I came towards her, introducing myself and proceeding to ask her hard questions. I see the shocked expression on B's face At this point, I wanted to laugh so hard because B actually believed that I was the manager. I then asked her, "Remember me?" She replied, "Yeah, but you know best is best, right?" Then I proceeded to tell her what B had done to me and my friends. One of those friends comes out and introduces herself and tells B if B remembers her too. I asked her what her reason was, and B then started calling me and my friend a witch and that she hated the job anyway. This was her third job. She was fired on the 2 previous jobs. She had it on her resume. Started throwing things everywhere. She throws down the big vase to the ground and I just see sister coming in with a police officer who happens to be my sister's boyfriend. Sis tells B she's fired. Police puts cuffs on her while saying, "You have the right to remain silent." Later that day, me, sis and other employee help out fix the destruction she had made. My sister paid them out of her own pocket saying sorry for what happened. After a few months I heard that she was charged with thousands of dollars and 100 hours of community service. For things like destruction of property, harassment, I only remember hearing those. Sis told me that she pressed charges and also added that she bullied me and my friends. Turns out B bullied more people than 8 of us. Me and my friends. This is not a throwaway because screw these people. I hope they find it. Backstory: I'm a part of a small family-owned type used car dealership. Cue used car salesman joke here. We have maybe 50 cars on a lot at any time and our main business is subprime or people with less than perfect credit. We truly want to help the people that can't afford/have the credit to buy from a new car dealership. We're actually very liked in our small community. So recently I had these customers. Let's call her wife and call him husband. They are early 20s. They come into my store and I like them. They seem like a nice young couple trying to start their lives out. They have 2 very sweet little girls and could just use a break. They have made some mistakes in their early lives and have less than perfect credit. I coach them on how to improve their credit and they seem sincerely interested in fixing it. So I bust myself to get them a loan with the wife's mother co-signing on a nice 3rd-row SUV. Wife is literally crying and hugging me because every other dealer turned them down. Now they are a little short on the down payment, so I take a check for the balance and we agree I will cash it on his next paycheck. Mistake number 1. But pretty common in this line of work. I forget about them until the next week when I drop the check at the bank along with the other deposits. The next thing I know, I receive a notice that the check has bounced, along with a couple NSF fees attached for me. It's a dollar amount that is considered the 1st-degree misdemeanor in our state, just under a felony. I reached out to the wife to see what happened and how we can make arrangements to get this taken care of. The last thing I want to do is go after a young couple with 2 small kids. At first, wife is a little shocked and insists the funds were pulled from their account and I show them the picture of the NSF check. She understands and says they can pay half in 2 weeks when she's paid again, and in another 2 weeks pay the other half. I agree to this and just take them on their word. Mistake number 2. A couple weeks rolls around and I don't hear from the wife or husband and I'm now thinking I've been taken for a ride, ignoring my calls, texts and so on. You get the point. I get a call from the bank and come to find out they haven't made their first payment either. Now with this particular bank, if the customer does not make their first payment, we have to buy back the deal. Basically, we have to give the bank the money they sent us for the loan. After blowing up their phones and Facebook, they finally call me back. I get the sub-story, he got let go from his job and he just started a new one and mom is going to help them get back on their feet. I go through hell and high water with the bank to make a deal that if they make their payment, they will keep the loan, but I'm still on the hook if they miss any of the 3 next payments. Wife also tells me they will make payments to me on the past check once he starts getting paychecks. So I agree. They make their payment to the bank and I go about my life until the next month comes around. I got an email from the bank saying that the wife did not make the next month's payment and won't answer their calls. At this point, I'm furious and ready to just go get their vehicle. They won't answer any of my calls and call mom, Mom scrounges everything in her social security paycheck to help try to make the payment for them and is short. Wife and husband tell her they will cover the balance and of course do not pay. Bank says deal is a buyback. We need our money back for the loan within 7 days. Now the only way I can pay back their loan is if my floor plan, basically giant credit card we buy cars on, gets pictures of the car in my possession. I try to call, text, email, message on Facebook to get a hold of both wife and husband, and they block me on everything. They are basically just stealing the vehicle without paying. They even blocked mom who has been trying to help them get this handled. Yes, they screwed over their own mother in this ordeal. I just want the vehicle back and move on with life. So this is where I go pro-revenge on them. I begin by dropping the check off at the local prosecutor, and they are delighted to file charges against them. I do some skip tracing, calling family members, all of which are more than happy to help because we come to find out husband has had 7 jobs in 4 months and has burned every single family member with money they have borrowed. I found the wife's father on Facebook. Father has been trying to take custody of deadbeat wife and husband's 2 kids because of how they treat them. He informs me that they are staying in sister's house right over the border. We are on the state line of 2 states, remember this. I call up a repo company and even myself drive the hour to go get the vehicle. They have been hiding it in the garage, according to neighbors and repo company. I do some searching and find out they are both on probation for stealing a bunch of stuff from multiple stores. So I of course find and call up Mr. Probation Officer to see if she has a last known address. I then mention to her they are staying above the state line and bounced a very large check to me, and they are facing fresh charges in my town. She appreciates the knowledge. Now while I was up at their house one evening, I talked to one of the neighbors who also hates them. They are always yelling at their kids and each other, and convinced the neighbor to call me if they see the vehicle outside. It took 1 day, and I got the call. I sent a very large friend who lives nearby them to go get the vehicle. After many expletives praising my friend, they hand over the vehicle, but not before finally calling me while he was there and telling me how they are going to sue and blah blah blah. I'm out quite a bit of money from the ordeal, but here is the best part. I just found out by living out of state, they violated probation and just got sentenced to 30 days in jail from that. And they also just had their video court date because they are currently in jail with a probation violation with a local judge on the new charges of the bounced check. I got my vehicle back and guess what? Deadbeat wife's father got custody of the 2 kids. Edit. Someone asked about something I forgot to mention. I worked out a deal at the end of the situation with the bank to take the entire loan off of a co-signer mother's credit bureau. No repo, no nothing on there. She was a sweet lady who didn't deserve her jerk kid messing up her life. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.